sounds weird without the intro music for in our ears, but I'll do that for the audio people. I'll get it in there. We'll figure out how to do live video with live music to bring it in, to get it fired up. This is Sweat Equity Podcast. I'm your host, Law Smith. Sitting here with me is a friend of the program, Eric Reginger.
Pronounce it perfectly.
Perfect.
As usual.
Perfect. He's been doing some work in this office, and I said, let's do. You don't have to discount it.
Let's do a surprise podcast that you're not prepared for.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Well, you just be the sounding board. Here's how you can act for anybody that goes on a podcast and doesn't know what to do. All you need to do is be the sounding board of the listener that doesn't know. So you can ask all the questions I'm skipping over because I've got a lot to say. I'm going to try to condense it into like 20 minutes.
Okay. Gotcha.
For those watching on the Mevo camera, I think we figured out how to get the mixer in.
Yeah.
It's following faces, I believe.
It's on your face. Good.
Yeah, I think so. I don't want to pay attention to it too hard.
Yeah, you're just watching yourself.
Yeah, because that'd be super narcissistic if I was just like looking at that looking down at the phone. Doesn't matter. If you want to show the viewers that sweet painting my dad brought by, they moved out of their house, and he dropped off a painting I had never seen in my life.
Yeah, right.
And he ran out of the office. I've never seen this. With good reason. It didn't go up. It was never hung on the wall.
Well, it's an original. Who painted it, Somebody
My
cold?
grandma hired some dude to do it and just...
That sounds shady.
Yeah. And I look like Rocky Dennis from Mask.
Do you remember? Do you remember?
No. This is like a total it's almost like a total mind freak magic trick. Like this never happened. I've never even heard of this. I'm 33. This happened when I was 2. Not once has this been brought up. It's super creepy.
How did they get the toddler to stay still that long?
I'm bottom heavy. So
they just put some
I got like
on
a T-Rex body.
I'm putting it down. It's creeping me out.
Yeah, we got to find a good spot to put it that like someone opens a drawer and it's just there.
Yeah.
But I got to do a little housekeeping. All right, listen to this podcast on the Laughable app if you're doing it on audio. If you're listening on iTunes or you're watching on Facebook Live, I think I'm putting this on my personal feed right now just because we haven't done an episode in a while. And we've been approached by some sponsorship opportunities. Yeah. And now it's kind of one of those things where, take it a little bit more seriously. Not seriously.
Serious.
It's like when I do stand-up and we're like, you got to take writing jokes seriously.
Yeah.
Without any irony on it. Like jumbo shrimp.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll do it.
But... I want to use this as a tool to the earlier episodes where it's just you and I or whoever's in the office that will be just like, what are we doing? Or just I may Bill Burr it if you're not here, But you and I, we're going over stuff that I think is helpful to explain in a broad way when people can listen to it on their own. And one thing, we've been doing a lot of website development work for a lot of clients, and Squarespace isn't a sponsor of this show, but they damn well should be. I've brought them up. How come every podcast has a promo code from Squarespace but us?
It's like nobody knows who we are or something.
So if you make a Squarespace site, it'll ask you, it wants that leads data, how'd you hear about us? Mm-hmm. So put in podcast. And you can put in whatever podcast you actually heard it on. But, throw in Sweat Equity in there.
Put it in there whether you heard it or not.
I put in all the podcasts I like in there that I know have had it at one point. It's like 10 different podcasts you put in there. But Squarespace, hook us up. I'm going to tag them in this episode. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Let's try to get their attention. Well, I mean, shit.
I'm really nervous.
We've made 40 Squarespace sites like this year or something crazy like that.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Well,
I feel like it's 40.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things where I want to dedicate time to squeezing. I want to Gary V this. You ever look at Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever that guy's name is?
I think you talked about it last time.
Well, he's he's a dude that's very good about like creating content. And what I want to do is kind of make these subjects of something that I talk about a lot, you talk about a lot in this kind of nerd consulting world, and then kind of create a conversation here, and then we'll put it on the website, and people can put messages on there, and then we can add to it. You know, it's a living document essentially.
Right.
I think that would be kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But
it'd be very helpful.
Who knows?
Sure.
Yeah. So engage with us if you want, or email me directly, law@tocoworks, law@tocoworks.com. One thing before we get into it, it's a little distracting to me because I'm just kind of hyper vigilant. There's some glitter on your neck.
Huh? What?
I'm hoping that's from like your daughter and not one of the fine Tampa strip club establishments in the area.
I got to turn my phone on and do the old. I don't know what you're talking about.
You've got like it's just two little speckles that are caught. One's in your like stubble of your beard, and then there's another one just randomly around your neck. You gotta focus the light to see it. It's good,
dude. You are hyper vigilant.
This is good pod.
Nothing. Yeah. Hope this is helpful for all your Squarespace questions.
Hey man, I just want to say how this is authentic. This is an authentic conversation, man.
Yeah.
I want this podcast to be somewhere in between. Like, hey, we're gonna really actually talk about some stuff, but I like the comedian style of it's we're shooting the shit. It's a hang.
We're hanging. We're just hanging.
So I don't want to have like too hardcore. I wrote a case study about this, and
inject CSS codes.
Yeah, I can write case studies for other people. For when it comes to our stuff, I don't know. I have some kind of mental block with that. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I was going into one of these bad. We love Squarespace. Again, not a sponsor. They just do it the best right now. If someone better comes along. This is not going to help us get sponsorship, yeah. But if someone better comes along, we'll take it. It's whatever works best for the clients.
Right.
Because my thing is twofold. There's the CMS problem, like how good it is. And then there's
CMS stands for what?
There you go. Content management system. I almost breezed right through it.
Didn't know it.
That's what Squarespace is. That's what WordPress is. That's what Weebly, Web.com, Wix. That's what all of those are. Mm-hmm. And so basically it used to be back in the day, 20 years ago, you had to find like a dude. You had to find a guy that could program a site top to bottom, and it would cost like 10 grand to like 70 grand for a good site. Yeah. And nowadays you don't need that as much.
No, I'm doing it for Christ's sake. So.
Well, self-deprecation aside.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm very good.
You've been learning a lot about it. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing of all time. It is a lot of like, you're doing custom stuff too, so that's way different.
Yeah.
But most people, like restaurants, right? All they need is a site they can pop in, change the menu, pop back out. That's all they need to do. And I'm not even going to get into like, a website. I want to get to like my philosophy on website, where it is the hub for your digital kind of presence, and then everything else is a spoke. Whereas people just go, I got a Facebook page.
Yeah,
that has all the info on there. It's like, no, that's a lead in, and then you close on them on the site.
Right.
Most service businesses don't need an elaborate website. Most local service businesses, let's say, law firms, anything that's like you're not buying any product necessarily, or you're just trying to get leads. So, professional stuff like insurance, lawyers, dentist, orthodontist, stuff like that. Your only thing is for them to contact you, right?
Yeah. And the cool thing about Squarespace, it can be as simple or elaborate as you want it to be, too.
In the game, we call that scalability.
Right, scalability. Write it down.
Yeah, but you're right, because you can make a one-pager.
Right.
And just have that as like, all I want is a contact thing up as like a business card to let people know I exist. I have the presence. And then you can be like us and doing like crazy stuff where we're doing cross-platform targeting. You found out about us through this podcast. You went on the site, and then an ad may have followed you while you're on YouTube.
Right.
You know, and then that keeps crossing over.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it has that scalability factor, but most people don't. Here's the bigger problem is developers love WordPress because they learn WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think of the CMS market share, it's like 49%.
Really?
Squarespace is like 0.7.
Really?
Yeah, but I'll tell you why. I know why. They were like the first CMS system that was like legit.
Mm-hmm.
That you could do a lot of features. Like in 04, 05, they were the tits. They were like, it was the best one like out there. Because the big factor is the plugin system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, compared to 20 years ago when you had to get the guy to do it from the ground up and code it all by himself, and not have sites like GitHub and stuff like that where you could use like reference and help and figure out code that way. WordPress was awesome, but I tried to make a comparison. I wrote two analogies.
Can't wait.
One was like, you know how Cuba has all the old cars?
Uh-huh.
Like they keep fixing them up. They're good. They're from the 50s. They just keep fixing them up because that's what they know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's kind of one I had. I think
so WordPress is the old cars.
Yeah.
Squarespace would be
the developers are like the mechanics in Cuba.
Okay.
You know, they're really latched to those cars. But if you brought them a Civic, it might be tough for them to fix. You know, or let's say a Prius.
Okay, what was your other analogy?
The developers that love WordPress are kind of like teachers with tenure, right?
Just getting lazy.
They got into it because they're ambitious, you know, and now they're just there, and they don't really think about what's going on around them, kind of thing. Like the big thing about it is empathy of the client. Right, so you've seen it now. You've seen some client meetings at this point. We don't even, when we talk about the site, we talk about like what do they want to do.
Right.
Like what are their goals?
Mm-hmm.
And because a website's like a business plan meets marketing brochure meets like brand guide almost, right?
Right.
And it's your salesman while you sleep. It works for you 24/7. And so like, I always start there, and it's so interesting to me that developers don't. The other part of this, before we kind of break it down to between the CMSs, is like a lot of developers aren't designers. A lot of designers aren't developers. They're two sides of the same coin. I wouldn't say I'm the best at both. I'd like to call us website producers. Mm-hmm. Because we find when we have a client, we moneyball the best team we can together. Right. You know, they want this, and this. We're going to do a layout. We're going to go over it. What's the vibe? What do you want to do? What sites do you like? And then we're going to make sure it's awesome on mobile, all that stuff. But most guys, they just kind of like you get tied into WordPress only as a developer. Mm-hmm. You get tied into just like that one skill and you never work on the other side.
Yeah, very little creativity going on.
Right. And it gets frustrating.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things where we're trying to figure out this method to make it as the least painful as possible. Are we 100% killing it on the process? Yes. No. Of course, there's too many variables, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot, and you have to live within the quality, price, and speed. Mm-hmm. Those are the three constraints. You know?
Yeah.
Now you've been working in Squarespace a lot more lately, and you've been we've been migrating people off of there because we want to hand off the site. That's another thing with the website community is like, they want to hijack your site.
Yeah, we don't want that at all.
No, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
because they want that like $50 to $100 fee a month to say website maintenance.
Yeah,
and then when you need something, you can't get a hold of them.
Right.
Whereas we would rather just show you how to do some of these small things. So you're not, it's not hard to change a link.
Yeah.
And we make video tutorials.
Right. That's what I was going to say. We're trying to get it so that, we can kind of pass it off so that we don't need to be sitting there over their shoulder the whole time. But, yeah.
I mean, I think, well, like, because it's their property. I don't get it. Like, I don't get when people are like, oh, yeah, this guy has the website. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah, it's a weird possession thing. I think it's just
you paid for it.
Programmers.
Well, I know, and it's crazy. And the clients almost have Stockholm syndrome with the older web guys.
Yeah.
They're like, well, he made it like 14 years ago, and he'll update it, but it takes a month.
He's our guy. We're gonna stick with him.
Right. So we're trying to go from like the business side first, and then do it that way. Because ultimately, you'll get frustrated trying to do it backwards.
Mm-hmm. And there aren't any businesses that don't have websites anymore. Everybody's got to have a website.
It's crazy.
I mean, I'm not calling anybody on the phone. I'm looking at your website.
Right. At our age, we're mid-30s. Our age and younger, no one is like, there's no yellow page lookup.
Yeah.
There's none of that. And you want the site to be an aggregate of all those aforementioned, like Facebook, Google My Business, whatever you're listed on, Apple Maps, all that stuff. You want to be listed on there and make sure you're updated, but at the same time, you want everything to push to the website.
Right.
You want to control your message too. That's the other thing people don't get. And so, all right, where to begin? So I want WordPress developers to talk shit to me about this because I've yet to do like a public conversation about it, but
so you dragged me into it.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a good kind of sounding board. I mean, you've been in both now, and you're fresh off of doing a lot of this work. You've seen WordPress. When you get into the admin panel, which a lot of people call the back end, it's not the back end, but
it's not the back end.
But when you log into your site to do those edits, I mean, how confusing is WordPress? It's trying to like, okay, okay, I got to put a post.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Go to settings. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, there's very little intuition involved where Squarespace it's the internet. It's dragging and dropping and moving. I mean, it's very obvious what you want to do and how to do it most of the time.
I heard someone say if you can drag and drop like an attached file to your email, you can figure out the basics of Squarespace.
Yeah.
The reason this matters, that intuitive part, I bring up like, think of the iPhone, right? The way when it came out, it like blew people's mind. A lot of people don't value design in that direction because people hear design, they think foofy, they think
right.
It has no meaning. To me, it's about efficiency. Like I can pop in, write a blog post, pop back out. It's not hard to do, and I can teach that to someone too. So I feel like the way the admin panel is designed is so huge. And then the other part is I'm having to do a WordPress site because that's what the client wants. We're just doing the design on it. There's a developer on the other side. And I go, okay, well, I'm making a WordPress site, like a fake one almost, a dummy one, so I can get the design down to see if it's functional. Well, I tried that for a while, and I forgot how goddamn slow it is to see your changes in the styling.
Right, because Squarespace immediately shows you what you're doing. WordPress, you don't. You have to start it up, refresh it, do all that, go back in.
It sounds like a little thing. I tried to explain it to our go-between for this project, and I was like, no. It slows me down 4 or 5 times as slow.
Yeah.
Because I have to make a change, load the page, go back, reload. Or even if I'm dual screening it, I can already hear nerds like, no.
Yeah.
I can have dual screen, and I can have like, the front end of it, the changes browser, and the WordPress admin on another. It still takes a lot longer. I don't know.
You're still having to refresh and go back and then,
right.
Try and hit the target or whatever you're trying to do.
So I think that was kind of what spurred me want to talk about this. Mainly, all jokes, all subjects I want to talk about are all out of frustration.
Yeah.
The contemporary design templates are way better, I think, than combing through a lot of WordPress ones on like Envato Market or some of these other CMSs they just don't look good, and they're not set for mobile.
Yeah, that's a big thing, too.
A lot of developers like to go, hey, we'll get this in mobile, too. We'll get you a mobile site. Because you used to have to break it up. You used to have to go, I'll make a desktop version and a mobile version, like probably 09.
Yep.
And now that's almost silly. So the way Squarespace is set up is it's already responsive to any of those devices. You make sure you work on every browser. Some are limiting depending on what code you put in if you're doing anything custom. But your pizza shop, it's going to work on everything.
Right.
You've been messing with the design templates. They're pretty sweet.
Yeah, they look way better. They're way cleaner, simple, if you want them to be. But
if you're doing it yourself, it's all about photography. I'm telling you that.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, you can get away with a little copy, very short copy, but
take some nice photos.
If you look on,
turn your phone sideways too if you're taking them. For Christ's sake.
Well, yeah, you take pictures. Tell them how to do it real quick.
Well, you're going to want to take your phone from this position and turn it sideways because that's how it looks best. And you got to think about getting it in that square little sweet spot to try and get things for mobile and whatnot. But yeah, it's not that hard to take a good picture.
Well, yeah, there's a sweet spot. There's a cover photo almost, which is like landscape, and then you have the mobile. So the focus of a picture needs to have fat on both sides.
Right. I didn't explain that very well.
We'll do a blog post about that because I need to explain that a lot better in these meetings. What else did I want to bring up? So I try to think of like what I've heard negatively about Squarespace, and it's that you can't get SEO. That's a lie. Here's how that breaks down. WordPress has like
SEO is
you can just get this plugin, plug it in, and it'll do SEO for you. Now your numbers might look better, but you don't. It's hard to really track what the quality traffic is. That's why you kind of have to look at this stuff holistically. Like everybody, it was all about getting traffic. I can send you a bunch of Chinese server traffic if you want. It's not going to do anything.
Yeah, they're not giving you any money.
Right. And so that's why you have to start in the beginning and go like, what's this business about? What do you want to do? That kind of thing. And we've been talking about car dealership stuff lately. And everything the research says about digital is it's all about a quality lead over a quantity. And these old school guys, all they think about is just get a dickload of leads.
Yeah, as many eyes as possible. And fool one of them.
Yeah, the stat I love is it takes 19 touch points before you walk on the lot, or 24, and then 19 of them are digital.
Touch points being
like the website, an ad,
to the consumer. They need to come in contact 24, 19 times, whatever it is, before they even do anything.
Before they buy, I think it might be buy. I'm buy.
Where do you get that information?
We were doing research because we want to start doing a landing page and targeting that market. Have you been here?
You're talking to me?
Well, that's when I go crazy and do my John Gruden strategies and stuff by myself. So yeah, look, I've done stuff in Wix, in Weebly. They're fine. They're like they're poor man's version of Squarespace. They'll get the job done if you just need some presence. But if you're trying to do like e-commerce, you're trying to do that scalability. Start a small site, make it bigger. That's going to be a little bit more difficult. Like it's like kind of customizing it. And I feel like design options, the same fonts and color scheme and all that stuff. It's kind of even money, really. What was the other thing? I'm trying to think of what. Oh, so the plugin system for WordPress. Yeah, it's great. If you know WordPress really well, that's fine. I used to. I'm a little rusty. I'll admit it. And I think my friend is listening about the client I talked about, how slow. Sorry, girl. Well, I'm keeping it anonymous. But I would say the plugin system, while it seems handy, there is diminishing returns. You have too many plugins on a site, and you don't reroute URL slugs, which is / blah, 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 and you don't do that correctly. Too many plugins will cross each other out.
So these WordPress plugins you're talking about, is that part of the WordPress system, or are these from an outside source? Do they use plugins?
So it's third party, yeah. So
Okay.
some are made by dudes just wanted to make them. Some are made by companies. It's kind of hard to tell if you're doing it on your own, because some look legit. So that's a good point, because you're bringing in third party stuff that you're like, I don't know if this is
Who knows
chill
where these
or not.
plugins come from?
Yeah,
ISIS, maybe.
probably. What was the other thing? So look, we're gonna cut it off here because this could ramble on for a while, and I hear myself umming and too much. So I will tell you, there is a community. If you need to find help for Squarespace stuff, I would say go to Square Studio, Google it, or go to squarestud.io. You know, people do that with their website domain. There's Squarefront. There's a Slack group if you're a Slack person. Squarefront. These guys are like, between those two, Square Studio's like badass design team, and they make design plugins that we've used, and they'll also do custom code for us. And then Squarefront is more of like these badass developers that have been around since Squarespace started 10 years ago and really know it backwards and forwards better than anybody. And there's a forum there. There's a Facebook group called Squarespace Community.
That's super helpful. It's helpful to just read people's questions and problems.
Well, and the
one
answer
thing
board.
For your confidence, make you feel good about how stupid other people are, and they're actually helpful. People have nice answers, usually pretty straightforward stuff. So
and then
check it out.
If you're trying to look up like CSS code, HTML code, just to do a little something on your site, the answers, people do answer the questions on the Squarespace community. GitHub's another spot, and then there is live support 24/7, and there's a live chat through Squarespace. It's a little fresh. It's hard to do. We're not there yet as a society, I don't think, with live chat. You know, because they have to always start at the beginning, and you're already frustrated.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, what's your site again?" And you're like,
I told the other
right.
guy, though.
How do you not know? I'm already logged in.
Yeah.
So there's that part. But my biggest thing is I want people to talk shit to me about this, or tell me what they like, what they don't like, or ask questions. So hit us up on the comment section on Toco Works. It'll probably be up a couple hours. We're doing this at like Wednesday at 2. And I had to jam this in. I have a lot of work. We have a lot of work going on, but I've stopped doing the podcast, and now there's opportunities for it. But it's also, you know, I have to mandate that instead of eating lunch, I'll do this, you know.
Plus, it'll help you lose weight.
That's true. I've got serious dad bod issues.
We'll get you straightened out.
All right, thanks for watching. Peace.
See ya.